Thanks for sticking with us for this final segment of Broncos Beat. Guys, just 4 games left in the 2020 season, so it really is imperative for the Broncos to keep fighting down the stretch as the evaluation of this young roster continues. This week, the Broncos are going to take on the 4-8 Carolina Panthers, who are coming off their bye week, with the Broncos coming off a hard-fought game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So who has the advantage in this game, a well-rested Panthers team or an unsatisfied Broncos team this week?
I think the advantage slightly goes to the Broncos. I think this Panthers team is still very much a team in transition. Yes, they are well rested, but it seems like just from watching a couple of their games, it looks like they're still just trying to figure out, whenever you have a college coach coming into the pro ranks like Matt Rule has, you want to be able to implement a new culture, a new offense, but it's been touch and go. And when you don't have an off season like the entire NFL had, or when you go through those COVID delays like the NFL did this past off season, it makes it extremely difficult. So I give the advantage to the Broncos just based on a continuity and consistency framework.
I'll say this. James, I'll speak over you because that's what I do on this show. But I'll say this. It comes down to that extra week of preparation. Like, I don't have any worries about the Broncos on a weekly basis based on, well, honestly, Vic Fangio and the way that they respond to him. So I know they're going to be motivated. I know this one stings. I don't think that can be seen as a negative. And Matt, I don't think you were saying it's a negative. You're saying this is a positive because this is a hungry team. I think they're hungry every week. I am worried about that extra week. I am worried about weapons coming back for the Carolina Panthers. So I'm going to say that extra week here for a college coach maybe gives them some times to drop some things we haven't seen yet before. Maybe I'm just paranoid. But yeah, I don't worry about the Broncos preparation. And I do think maybe the Panthers might have something up their sleeve.
You talk about some things drawn up. Who's one of the hottest names out there, Cecil? Who's the hot young coach? Who's the hot young offensive coordinator? And Joe Brady, I want to see what he did with this extra week. And you said guys coming back. I think that does play into a little bit of an advantage with an experienced quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater. And you can come up with some new things in your week off. I want to see how the Broncos respond to this week, because how they fought and played against the Kansas City Chiefs, valiant effort, no moral victories. Do you bounce back and jump right back in the saddle? I think that's up to the leaders of this team, up to the coaching staff of this team to come out and do it again, because you're starting to get towards that point in the season where these type of losses can be deflating. They need to build themselves back up heading into this week.
Well, it will be Drew Lock up against Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater's second time facing the Broncos and first time since he was with the Vikings in 2015. So how do these guys compare and contrast at the quarterback position, James?
Teddy completes balls. I mean, that's what he does, right? He's one of the top in the league in completion percentage. He finds ways to have completions. They have used guys differently, which is something that you have to keep an eye on. As I hinted on, if they change things up, Cecil will talk about some of these weapons in Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson and the way that they can change those. But they can do that because of the way Teddy Bridgewater understands this offense that dates back to the time when he was in New Orleans last year. And there's a lot of similarities in that sense. So they can mix things up. And I think Teddy completing balls is a big part. Drew needs to play more consistent. That's Teddy's strong suit, Cecil, is the consistency at which he plays with all of these different weapons around him. And he continues, as I talk to people in Carolina, build that chemistry with Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, and it's a nice blend of young weapons and veteran weapons like Robbie Anderson, of course, played under Matt Rule at Temple. So, okay, smart and accurate. That's what Teddy Bridgewater is, and that's what makes him a fine quality quarterback. And it's seeing the field and reading it quickly. You can see it. You got to see it quickly, James, as we talked about earlier in this show. With those weapons, I mean, we can go on and on. We can do this whole segment about Christian McCaffrey and what he can do and his expected return this week against the Denver Broncos. That's going to be very dangerous as a runner, as a receiver out of the backfield. But you mentioned Curtis Samuel. What is he? Is he a receiver? Is he a running back? I don't know. He's a playmaker.
They love that nobody knows.
Robbie Anderson, that's speed all day. Throw in DJ Moore. There's more speed. So speed kills. And if they wanted to, Ian Thomas is a better tight end than his numbers will ever show you, but they just don't use him. So yeah, there's weapons there. You got a smart and accurate quarterback running the show, could cause some complications for you.
Well, Matt, we have to talk a little bit about the defense, specifically because they have Steve Atwater's nephew, Jeremy Chinn, at the safety position. A lot of great weapons on the defensive side of the ball. So what does he and this Panthers defense do well that might cause some problems for the Broncos offense this week?
Well, like Steve Atwater, Jeremy Chinn is a tackling machine. Draft insiders like Cecil know coming out of Southern Illinois, not a lot of people knew about Chinn, but the physical skill set was there. And now we're seeing that skill set has translated very nicely to the NFL game. Back-to-back Defensive Rookie of the Month awards, very warranted for a guy like him. He's kind of like a safety that the Broncos just saw in Tyrann Mathieu, a very hard-nosed tackling safety that moves around the field very well as a ball hawk safety. So the Broncos are going to have their hands full with Chinn, although he is just a rookie.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's edition of Broncos Beat. We'll see you same time, same place next Monday.